Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Josh, joined as ever by Ewan Patterson, because over the past night or so you have been playing the Ghost Recon Breakpoint beta, and I'm really excited for this game. Loved Wildlands, and all the changes they've made so far in the trailers and what they've showed off in gameplay footage has been really exciting. But the big question is, Ewan, how does that actually play? Because I have been bluffed by Ubisoft trailers in the past and I don't want to be burnt again.
Yeah, I keep on getting burnt all the time. It's like, you know, you've got a glowing hot pan here, like you got your electric hob.
Yeah.
You're there like, I shouldn't touch that, that's gonna burn my hand. But then I keep doing it.
Why?
I don't know what it is. I'm like a moth to the flame with tactical espionage warfare.
Anything with Tom Clancy on the cover.
Yeah, anything with, may rest in peace. It's weird, I love the Tom Clancy franchise, one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time. You know, Split Cell Chaos Theory, Bang to Rights probably is close to my second favorite game of all time. I absolutely love that series. Ghost Recon though is my favorite of all the Tom Clancy series. I loved Advanced Warfighter for the 360,
yes.
Advanced Warfighter 2. I had so many hours of fun playing the co-op campaigns on that, where it was like different scenarios that you could do with your friends, whatever. And I was very excited for Wildlands when that first came out, to the point where I was like, oh my god, this is exactly what I want from a Ghost Recon game. You want that authentic special ops experience where you're a couple of guys behind enemy lines. You've got this entire force on your tail. You've kind of got like guerrilla warfare. With limited resources, limited tactics. Everyone plays their own role. And obviously, anyone who's played Wildlands will know that that wasn't necessarily what ended up happening.
Not quite.
You had you could tell the way Ubisoft wanted you to play that game, but the mechanically it just wasn't there. So like you wanted to be stealthy, but you couldn't use foliage or the environment to hide yourself. You had an entire, it was like GTA except turned up to 11. You had a constant armory that you could just pull from your back, which again isn't really conducive to that pseudo-realistic, tactical gameplay that you're after.
It was a very strange game. I really liked Wildlands, but the moment I picked that game up for myself, I realized something was off from what I expected it to be to what it actually was, because it was very kind of clunky and sort of unpolished in a lot of ways, I found. And like you said, the way Ubisoft obviously wanted you to play that game was kind of, incongruous with how you actually played it.
You had to make your own fun at times. And part of the appeal of having Ghost Recon be in the open world is that you're able to apply real life tactics, so like guerrilla warfare. Say you want to ambush a thing and do it that way, you could totally do that, but it was never a sense of, oh, you should do it that way, because it was just mechanically it wasn't there. The radio was god awful. The dialogue with your AI partners was like lifted out of some god awful Uwe Boll dimension where everyone is just after the coca for the altitude, and it was really, really bad. But anyway, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I'm really excited for this game for a long time. It looks, from all the trailers, like it was making, okay, you want that pseudo-realism in your game, we're going to let that. You're going to be able to cake yourself in mud and dirt and go into camouflage.
And I do that every Saturday anyway, so I might as well do it in video games.
Nice little mud bath. And then after that, you have all your different class roles, so everyone can finally get their own stamp on the battlefield. Every gun should play differently. Everything should have a different role, as it should be. Now, I've played the beta yesterday.
Yes.
I played about an hour and a half of it last night, going through the opening all the way through to the part where the game kind of opens up a little bit. I haven't had a chance to do the PvP yet, basically just the single player. And it starts off really, really, really well. The customization options are a little bit limited so far. I definitely think they need to add more faces and different, haircuts and facial hair types and stuff like that. But for the most part, it plays really well. The introduction immediately sets the stage. I think they really convey the sense of you are up against you are FUBAR basically. You're up against this ridiculous paramilitary force that has their own drone capabilities, and they really sell the horror of drone technology in this. When you're flying to this new island, I forget what it's called, the Elon Musk Scorpio lair. And you get there, and your helicopter, your Black Hawks, get taken down by these like tiny swarm drone things, and they're tearing through it, and it's really, really terrifying. And you wake up and you're the only person alive, and you've basically got to investigate each helicopter crash site, and it's going really, really well. You're like, oh, I really like this. I'm stealthily.
There's such a big butt coming. I can feel
like you're outmaneuvering all these enemy patrols and stuff, and it's really, really tense. I'm like, oh my god, this is what I want. I want to be able to like not have to, take everyone out. I want to be able to like move in between the swamps, use the shadows, use the environment to my advantage. And then little cracks start to appear. So basically, the way they've introduced these new environments, they've added new animations. So obviously in Ghost Recon Wildlands, your guy had one run. It was like that. Just that. And now in this one, if you're going uphill, you'll do a little bit of a stride. You'll do that, which is really, really good. And then if you're going through the swamp, you kind of got to move your legs around like that.
Next-gen gaming is here.
But sometimes the game doesn't realize when you're moving in a different environment. So I had a whole thing yesterday where I was trying to get up a hill and my guy thought it was a swamp, so he was just doing this up the hill, and it was really, really bad. And if anyone was concerned about the way the driving in Wildlands was appalling, everything was so floaty, you can tell they've made somewhat of an effort to make that better here.
Okay.
But it looks nowhere near as polished as it did during the E3 demo. I'm still in these vehicles floating around the environment. It feels as though it's not attached to the surface of the ground.
That's frustrating.
And it's tonally as well, there was a little bit of a mismatch here. So obviously they brought in John Bernthal. The presentation has taken a massive uplift. The graphics, obviously, Wildlands was a good looking game.
Yeah.
But the character models and the actual environment here looks really, really good. But the presentation is a little bit weird. So you get to a crash site. And do you remember generic military soldier 5 from Ghost Recon Wildlands? Weaver, he was called. The guy with the denim jacket.
They
try and make a big emotional thing about him being killed by big old Johnny Bernthal, but basically how it fades to, like, you get to the crash site, it fades to black, and then it have the cutscene, and then he appears for 5 seconds, and it fades to black again, and he suddenly disappeared. It's like, okay, that was kind of, why did you show me that? Then it gets even worse, because you get to basically,
please no.
You get a radio transmission saying, one of you guys is holed up in this little cave thing, whatever. That's really cool. I end up thinking, okay, that's about 2 miles that way, and systemically, I'm getting a sense for how I'm going to get there. So I come across these 2 guys who have their own car. I'm like, okay, I'll kill them. I'll get the car and I'll drive away. So I'm driving up, and I get to the actual place itself. I outmaneuver a few enemy roadblocks. Again, that's kind of what I want from this game. I really want that sense of feeling as though, oh my god, if I get caught, that is it. And then you get to the cave, and then it basically becomes a Division.
Oh no.
So you get into this cave, and all of a sudden, all these other different players who were in the Ghost Recon beta suddenly start loading in. And then the frame rate tanks, and then you see the different shops on offer and the different things, and it's like, why have Ubisoft divisioned Ghost Recon? Because if you go back out into the open world, they're not there either. You only want to play this game, surely, with your friends, or open into a session with different people where you can talk to them. No one is going to interact with about 50 people loading in and T-posing in this goddamn awful robo-cave, trying to buy some equipment for, I don't know, with your GR points or something. I don't know, it makes no sense to me.
Is it too much to ask to want to buy my new gear without the frame rate taking a complete crap because a bunch of other players are loading in all terribly for no apparent reason?
It's not even conducive to the actual story itself, because you're meant to be the ghost leader and you have your team. If you're loading in and there are about 50 other people just standing around buying equipment and whatever, it makes no sense. Not only is it kind of immersion breaking, it feels as though it's the opposite of a flex. It's like you've introduced this little hub world mechanic, but it doesn't work properly. And I know it's a beta, but the game comes out next month, and all these issues with polish, it's the same old story with Ubisoft, and it really makes me upset because you can tell they've made a concerted effort to address many of the things that people wanted to see from Wildlands that they didn't get in the last game. And for me, as a long-time fan of Ghost Recon, I appreciate that. But if the polish isn't there to back it up, it's going to be the same old story where they want to play the game in a specific way, but the game is limited by its own lack of polish.
That is really frustrating to hear, because when I was playing Wildlands, obviously that's what put me off. I didn't actually finish the story mode of that game because I just wasn't compelled enough to seek out the other missions, because it had that weird structure where you had to take out, like the bosses of each area, and you had to take out like the sub-lieutenants and whatever, and it just kind of, I felt it was so clunky. And like you said at the beginning of this video, I always felt like I was making my own fun. Although the set pieces were occasionally quite cool, and there was some unique missions in there, for the most part it was just me messing around with my friends and kind of, abusing the mechanics that were there and taking helicopters everywhere because driving was so frustrating. And I'm a bit disappointed that by the sounds of it, again, it's only a beta, but we're less than a month away from release, and it sort of sounds like a very similar situation. I don't know how this keeps happening to Ghost Recon in particular, because there are always such great, ambitious ideas at the heart of it. Even this, by the sound, by what you're saying, like when you get those, flashes of when it works as intended, it sounds really awesome, and yet I don't get how it never quite seems to come together as a conducive whole. It's
weird for me as well, because it always feels as though this is happening in recent years to the single-player components of Ubisoft's games. Obviously, Rainbow Six Siege has an amazingly fluid multiplayer experience, but if you try playing Terrorist Hunt, the frame rate just completely tanked. And obviously there was no single player to speak of with that game as well. And obviously Wildlands, you had the open world, but then that was, all the whack of polish there. The multiplayer did play okay, and I'm looking forward to trying Breakpoint's kind of blend of Siege with Ghost Recon style multiplayer. But as far as Tom Clancy goes, we've not had a polished, smooth single-player experience since Blacklist, Splinter Cell, 2013. And that is a genuine concern for the franchise. And I know Ubisoft stand to make most of their returns and their money from multiplayer, but people who are interested, the series hardcore fans of Ghost Recon, are after a proper challenging co-op experience. And to me, Breakpoint right now in the beta isn't providing it.
Well, you need diversification when it comes to like the Ubisoft brands. You don't want everything to play the same. We always talk about like the Ubisoft formula, whatever that means. And it's frustrating, particularly to hear you say that it feels like the Division when you go into those kind of hub areas. And that's not even saying the Division is a bad game. I actually really enjoyed the Division 2, but my problem is I already have the Division 2. I already have the Division 1 to play. I don't need Ghost Recon, which should be its separate entity with its own unique identity and set mechanics and systems and ways of playing. Like you said, a single player co-op, well, not single player, story focused kind of like co-op experience. And the fact that all of these Ubisoft games kind of, feel a bit homogenous, or like they share systems or presentation styles. And yeah, they all come under or most of them come under like the Tom Clancy banner. But there is a need and a desire to see some diversity in there, like when it comes to gameplay styles, and I just want Breakpoint to give me that.
I mean, that's the thing, is there is definitely promise. The stealth mechanics, like I said earlier on, are really, really compelling. I think you could have some amazing scenarios where you're being chased through the woods, and you kind of get your team to encircle people, and then you create like a kill zone or something. There is definitely potential for you to implement those mechanics, and again, I think the actual cover system, the animations, if they worked properly, would look really good, because it is nice seeing the discrepancy between different environments. Like, I like the idea of wading through the water, like if you're going prone to the water, or like you're crouching and then you come out the water and you've got water coming down. That's really cool. But if you're going into dry land and your guy's still wading around like he's stuck in the muck, it makes no sense. So on the whole, I think there's definite promise with the beta, but right now it's, to me, frustratingly, and I hate saying this because I want to champion this game, is that it just feels very familiar in the same old story as far as Ubisoft is concerned with Tom Clancy.
That is such a shame, because I know how much you've actually been looking forward to this game this year, but I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Have you also been playing the Ghost Recon beta? And what do you think? Maybe you have conflicting, opinions to you, and that is great. And we are still, just under a month away. Hopefully they can solve some of these problems though, judging Ubisoft's past. Potentially not. It might be a few months after launch that everything gets patched out. But either way, while you're down there, can you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, joined by Ewan.
By me. And you can follow me on Twitter at Ewan Ruins Things.
You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Broom with 2 O's, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.